In Dragon Ball GT, we got to see the adventures of Goku, Trunks, and Pan as they traveled throughout the universe. But what if this was inverted though? What if we instead got screen time with Goten and Vegeta? Possibly the most unexpected duo of our main characters a series could have thrown at us. How could the Prince of all Saiyans help his rival's second son improve?
This story is created by Sebliet, translated by Karl-OS, and illustrated by Rogeru. Support them using the links below.
For a long time, the Dragon Balls had been allies to our friends for the protection of the Earth. But due to their immoderate use, the negative energy they contained rose without anybody noticing, until it manifested in the form of a dark dragon. All of the evil energy from the dragon gave birth to 7 terrible beings, one for every Dragon Ball, each representing a different wish our heroes made, who began to wreak havoc on the planet, destroying villages, cities, and ending countless lives. But Goku would defeat them one by one. It almost seemed like our hero would easily breeze through all of them, until he faced the most powerful enemy he had ever encountered, the dragon of the One-Star Ball. That sinister being would increase his power considerably by absorbing the other wish orbs. But even so, Goku defeated him and finished the battle, which would not only decide the destiny of Earth, but the entire universe. After that, the Dragon Balls were gathered one final time, prompting Goku and Shenron to merge into a single being and disappear from this world. It's unknown what's become of the Saiyan after this, but it seems to be he's left the Earth for good. Meanwhile, there's something worrying Kami-sama, also known as Dende. Popo inquires the Guardian of Earth if there's something bothering him. And not exactly. He was only thinking of the appearance of these evil dragons. He remembered something the elders of his tribe told him on Namek. Many years ago, there was a time when Namek was victim of frequent and unexpected space pirate attacks. They destroyed everything in their path. Because of this, his people would often resort to using the Dragon Balls to patch things up. The weird thing is that even if the Dragon Balls were used as much or even more times than they've been used on Earth, nobody has ever mentioned an evil dragon or his home planet being destroyed. Popo questions why he thinks that is. Though Dende has no idea, at this point, he can only hope that Goku's doing okay after disappearing with Shenron. After that fateful battle with the final Shadow Dragon, everyone met at Goku's house to celebrate his most recent victory. But at the time, all of them simply ignored the fact that this time, he would never come back. Everyone except one of them. Keeping up with his broody personality, Vegeta's isolated himself away from the others. He thinks to himself how foolish it was for Kakarot to fuse with that dragon. However, he's unable to keep himself from wondering if such an event managed to raise his power level at all. Unfortunately, looks like he'll never know. This leads him to wonder if there are any limits to them Saiyans. An ironic statement given how this story was written prior to Super's creation. If there are though, Vegeta knows he wants to see for himself. Now with his greatest rival taking his leave, he'll have to train with one of the boys. Quite the nuisance, but it'll still produce greater results than training alone. He calls out to his son. Not wasting any time after the downfall of Omega Shenron, he beckons if he's ready to start their training. But their training? When Mother Dearest decides to chime in and save the day. She apologizes for getting involved, but Trunks will have to be involved in the rebuilding of Capsule Corp. She won't be able to do it alone and he's too much of an asset to replace with anyone else. He then puts his focus in the direction of Gohan, who, personal relationships aside, is actually a much better candidate given his massive potential. He requests Goku's son come and train with him for a while. It would really help the both of them out. And while he'd love to, even if he doesn't see the necessity of it, even after just losing Goku and facing the most unthinkable threat the Earth has ever seen, but the company where he works just called him and he has to assist with the rebuilding process too. Hearing the same excuse twice, surely there must be someone who can help rebuild instead of him. Why does it have to be Gohan specifically? The simple fact is, he's the one in charge. He has to be aware of everything going on, and it wouldn't set a very good example if he just hid in the shadows while everyone who reports to him did all the dirty work. He's sorry, but promises they can spar another time. Since the prince has never had a job in his life, he simply can't see eye to eye with the reasoning of these people. Though it would take a few minutes, he would eventually resort to talking to Goten. He chides he's the only one here who's not doing anything. Instead of wasting time, why not come train with him? But simultaneously, the great and supreme Vegeta can't believe he's resorted to praying for someone like him to help in this situation. How embarrassing. Who tries to boast if it were up to himself, for sure, no problem. But his mother wouldn't want to be left alone in such an emotional… When Mother chimes in to quip her son not worry about her. He's neglected his training for a long time now. He needs to go with Vegeta. Secretly, this is merely a way for her to lure him away from that girl he was seeing in Capital City. Valise, or Palace if remembered correctly. This predictably throws Goten into a whirlwind. He makes an attempt to weasel out any way he can, but with nothing immediately coming to mind. Vegeta can't help but smirk to himself that it wasn't such a bad idea to talk to Chi-Chi a few minutes ago after all, likely being the one to plant the seed of her reasoning in her head. He tells Goten he'll be waiting for him tomorrow at Capsule Corp. He better be ready. Leaving the young teenager to wonder what they've gotten him into. The next day, Goten was heading to the Capsule Corporation. He thinks to himself that Mr. Vegeta must be nuts. Why does he want to keep training? It's ridiculous to think there could be anyone more powerful than him and his dad. The Super Saiyan 4 transformation is simply unbeatable. He thinks this training will be nothing but a waste of time. All he really wants to do is spend the summer with Valise. Making his way… well, technically inside, he bids Vegeta good morning and is ready to begin the training. The prince only grumbles that he's late and he had assumed he decided not to show. As the boy starts to explain how he overslept, his new mentor cuts him off to instruct he follow. Their spaceship is waiting. But what did he say? Why a spaceship if they can fly? Unless… don't tell him! Confirming his dreadful suspicion, Vegeta plans to take him to an unoccupied planet. Did he really think Earth would be able to resist the impact of their training? The planet they're going to is pretty tough, and isn't very far from here. If everything goes well, he expects they'll return in a year. Looking away from a student, Vegeta tries to remember where the spaceship even is in this mess. Naturally, a year is a bit more than Goten bargained for, especially if he is planning to keep his relationship with Valise alive. On the other side of the spectrum, the prince thinks a year sounds pretty great and warns the boy not to start complaining. He needs to hurry unless he wants to spend even more time off-world. Lucky for them. Or lucky for one of them, it looks like the hangar where the spaceship was located wasn't damaged by the Shadow Dragons. With this model, it should take them only a few hours to reach their destination, unlike past iterations which took forever to reach even Namek for instance. Approaching a lever, Vegeta chuckles for his new training partner to say goodbye to this planet for a long time. Launching him into space. They're pretty much immediately out of eyeshot of the Earth. Goten has a question though. What are they going to eat? But that won't be an issue. Vegeta brought along a few food capsules from back at the warehouse. But capsule food? That stuff tastes horrible! Back at the lookout. Popo once again questions Dende, inquiring if he found something out. And he did, even if it's only a very old myth. This catches the genie's curiosity as he requests him to elaborate. The story tells the origin of the Dragon Balls. A long time ago, on Namek, a native by the name of Eskaru was resting when a divine being suddenly appeared to him. This person, this deity, told him that because of his heart, which was pure, containing not a trace of evil, he would deliver unto him a great power. This power would go on to be passed down from generation to generation. After delivering this message, the divine being disappeared, leaving Eskaru with much doubt on how to use this power. That wasn't until one day, he had a vision in his dreams that would help him create 7 spheres that when brought together, would summon a dragon capable of granting any kind of wish. His assistant tries to assure him that's only a myth, as he said. Dende knows this. He doesn't think this has anything to do with the evil dragons, although he can't shake the fact that he has a bad feeling looming over him. With Goku disappearing atop of Shenron, and the Earth Dragon Balls disappearing from existence, what possible misfortune could still be in store for our heroes as foreshadowed by Dende? And with Vegeta taking Goten to train, what adventures could the two of them find themselves in, juxtaposed to the trio of Goku, Trunks, and Pan?